Houston Texans, New York Jets. The Texans are 3.5-point road favorites over the Jets. 33.5 is your total. Jets going back to Zach Wilson. In this one, the Texans, it was looking promising for Dalton Schultz, and now it says, coming through the old Twitter machine here, that he is doubtful to go for the Texans. We know they lost Tank Dell last week as well. So this leads us to a very interesting handicap, Adam, because it comes down to, okay, Texans definitely better than the Jets, but down two of their major weapons that have been an integral part of their success all season long on the road against the Jets defense that, yeah, I guess you can run on them a little bit of late, but you still can't really pass on them here in all this on the other side of a field goal. It's a pretty interesting handicap.
Going to be rain, going to be wind, going to be the best defense that CJ Stroud has gone against this year. And that makes me want to vomit when I think of the fact that I like the Jets in this game plus the 3.5. And it's largely a numbers play in a game where the expected total is as low as this one is, in a game where, believe it or not, we have actually seen what the difference is between Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian. And we're back to Zach Wilson, and it is by far the best available of the three. And so, yes, the Jets are beaten up. Yes, the Houston Texans have by far the better quarterback. I do not believe that the Houston Texans are going to be able to run this out against the Jets. I think the Jets defense shows in this game. If you don't necessarily buy the Jets to cover 3.5, if you think this game is a 14-7 or something along those lines, then just play it under.
Yeah, it's Steven, like we saw, at least because Tank Dell was hurt very early in the game. So like we did see this Texans offense at least function well without Tank Dell and Schultz, because Schultz didn't play last week either. But it certainly is different now for teams to prep for the Texans, because now they don't have to prep for Tank Dell being in that offense. And they also don't have to prep for Dalton Schultz being in there as well too. I'm not saying we're definitely going to get a clunker out of the Texans in this one, but I guess if there ever were a spot in which a clunker wouldn't surprise me, this would be kind of where I would be looking on that Texan schedule.
Yeah, but there's also an outcome here where the Texans offense has a clunker and still wins 13-3.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
No, for sure. Absolutely. There is, in my personal opinion, I have zero, my power ratings don't change at all between Boyle, Siemian, Zach Wilson. If they go and bring Vinny Testaverde back, it doesn't matter. Like it does, like it is, this team is what it is. It is a bottom two offense in the entire NFL. And that's just, to me, it doesn't matter who's out there. Zach Wilson brings you a tiny bit of scrambling upside is basically all it comes down to for me.
Yeah, I understand the numbers play for Adam, and it makes sense. This is just my subjective opinion. I have zero interest in betting on Zach Wilson, even though it was clear that he is not as bad as Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle, I think we well documented on this podcast, was one of, if not the worst quarterback in NFL history, at least in the modern era where we have statistics. Like, he was the nut low. But a friendly reminder that among all quarterbacks with at least 200 plays this year, Zach Wilson is dead last in EPA and CPOE composite. And among quarterbacks with at least 100 plays, he's only ahead of Phillip Walker and DTR on the Browns. So their best option
is still terrible.
Mean it's good.
Yes. No, their best option is still terrible. Yes. No, their best option is still terrible. Yes.
Yeah. So at the same time, Tank Dell's a big deal not having him. I don't care as much about Dalton Schultz. You know, they seem fine without him. But it may be a spot where maybe the Jets get an early field goal or something, and I can get the Texans under a field goal in the live market. But with the weather and the rain and the randomness that presents, I'm not interested in a side here, but it's never the Jets for me. That's just my opinion at this point. I hate betting on these teams that have quarterbacks that are not viable, that have a good defense. There's been too many instances over the past couple of years where these defenses just give up or fall flat when the offense just can't move the ball.
Yeah, so the Jets only giving up 56 yards per game to wide receiver ones, and that changes a lot if you have a secondary or a third option, right? And it's like without Dell, without Schultz, if they go out and just really lock down on Nico Collins, now you're asking a lot of Stroud when he's having to go to all these kind of like, wide receiver 4s and wide receiver 5s that are having to like play pretend that they're 2s and 3s. And so that's the thing that just keeps me think it's a big spot here for the Texans. I don't know, man. Like I just can't quite get there.